Take a slow breath. Let the day soften around you. Let the noise of everything you carried settle gently to the side. This is a story from the Black Voices. A story meant to be heard slowly. Felt slowly. Understood slowly. Some stories arrive loudly. But the ones that change a life forever often begin in silence. On a quiet afternoon in early autumn, when sunlight rested softly on polished floors, and the air carried that faint familiar scent of warm wood and old memories, Harold Whitman came home early. He was 58 years old. A man shaped by decades of decisions. Of long boardroom tables. Of polished shoes walking marble hallways. Of learning how to speak firmly even when tired. Of learning how to carry success without ever quite feeling held by it. His hair had turned silver at the temples years ago. Not suddenly. But slowly. The way evening light fades from a summer sky. He lived in a house that looked strong from the outside. Tall windows. Wide staircases. Rooms large enough for echoes. Yet houses do not always reveal what they hold. And wealth does not always quiet the feeling of being alone in your own footsteps. Inside that house worked Lila Mae Carter. 29 years old. Steady hands. Observant eyes. A presence gentle enough to pass unnoticed. Yet grounded enough to anchor a room without effort. She moved through the house with the calm rhythm of someone who understands spaces the way musicians understand silence between notes. She listened. Not only to voices. But to pauses. To changes in air. To weight shifting across floors. To the language of stillness. Her grandmother had once told her something when she was very young. Child. The world speaks before it shouts. If you learn the quiet language, you will always know when something is wrong. Lila Mae never forgot that afternoon when Harold entered through the side hall. Something in the air did not rest right. The grandfather clock ticked as always. Yet the sound felt too sharp. Too exposed. The house seemed to be holding its breath. He walked slowly. Removing his coat. Placing it where it always rested. Routine brings comfort. But routine also makes small changes impossible to ignore. A faint vibration traveled through the floor beneath his shoes. Not loud. Not clear. But present. He paused. Listened. And then, before thought could shape itself into meaning, a hand grasped his wrist. Warm. Urgent. Certain. Lila Mae. Her eyes wide. But not panicked. Focused. Stay quiet, she whispered. Her voice carried no fear. Only instruction. She guided him quickly toward the garage. Each movement deliberate. Careful. Measured. Then she lowered herself to the ground and pulled him with her. Sliding beneath the long dark car resting in shadow. Cool concrete pressed against his palms. Dust and faint engine warmth surrounded them. He opened his mouth. Confusion rising. Her gloved hand covered it gently. Stay quiet. Her breath near his ear. Slow but controlled. Outside. Footsteps. Not the relaxed movement of staff. Not the familiar shuffle of routine. These steps carried weight. Purpose. Boots. Heavy. Measured. Harold felt his chest tighten. He had faced economic crashes. Corporate betrayal. Public scrutiny. Yet lying beneath cold steel in his own garage. Hidden beside the woman who polished his stair rails each morning. He felt something he had not known since childhood. Vulnerability. The footsteps paused. A voice low. Searching. Check the back entrance. Another voice. Closer. He should be here. Metal touched something hard. A dull controlled sound. Minutes stretched long and thin. Time lost shape. Lila Mae remained still. Listening with every part of herself. Finally. The footsteps moved away. Not gone. Just farther. Only when silence settled deep again did she slowly remove her hand. Harold inhaled carefully. What is happening, he whispered. She waited. Listening once more. Then spoke softly. Someone has been watching this house for 3 days. His brow tightened. Watching. She nodded. Cars passing too slowly. Engines idling where no one waits. Voices near the service road late at night. He stared at her. Why did you not tell me? Her expression remained calm. Because certainty must come before alarm. Fear spreads faster than truth. He swallowed. Why today? Her voice lowered. Today they brought equipment. A stillness deeper than before filled the space between them. Equipment for what he asked. Her answer barely more than breath. For entry that is not invited. He felt a chill move through him. You protected me. She shook her head gently. I listened. Silence rested around them again. Harold studied her face. Really studied. Not as employer observing staff. But as one human being seeing another clearly. How did you learn to notice so much? She hesitated. Then spoke slowly. When you grow up in a place where people survive by awareness. You learn that quiet observation keeps families safe. My grandmother raised 5 children in a neighborhood where danger never announced itself politely. She taught us to hear tension in footsteps. To read meaning in the way doors closed. To trust instincts even when others dismissed them. He absorbed her words slowly. In his world. Problems arrived in reports. In data. Invisible risk. But this was different. This was knowing without proof. Sensing without evidence. Understanding through attention. Hours passed after they emerged from beneath the car. They moved gently through the house. Preparing quietly. Locks checked. Lights adjusted. Calls made with careful wording. As evening approached. Golden light stretched across long corridors. The house felt older in that light. Full of memory. Harold found himself remembering his mother ironing shirts while a radio played soft soul music from another room. Remembering neighbors who knocked without calling. Remembering evenings when people sat on porches simply watching the world breathe. He realized something slowly. Somewhere along the climb toward success. He had stopped listening to the quiet world. He had learned to manage noise. But forgotten how to understand silence. That night. Movement returned beyond the outer grounds. But this time they were ready. Authorities already waited nearby. Quietly alerted. Watching as carefully as Lila May had watched. Voices rose briefly outside. Commands firm but controlled. Then retreating footsteps. Engines fading. And finally. True stillness. Not tense. Not waiting. Just quiet. Later in the kitchen. Warm lamplight resting on wooden surfaces polished by years of use. Harold sat across from Lila May. He spoke slowly. All these years I believed control meant strength. Control of outcomes. Control of environments. Control of risk. Yet today. Strength looked like awareness. Patience. And trust. She listened. Then answered gently. Control tries to silence uncertainty. But wisdom listens to it. He felt those words settle deep. Days passed. The house returned to routine. Yet Harold had changed. He walked more slowly through rooms. He noticed how voices carried emotion beneath words. He paused before responding. He learned to hear the meaning inside silence. One afternoon he stood in the garage again. Looking at the place where they had hidden. He remembered the pressure of cold concrete. The steady warmth of Lila May beside him. The calm certainty in her whisper. Stay quiet. He understood now. That moment was not only about danger. It was about recognition. Recognition that every person carries knowledge shaped by their journey. Recognition that dignity lives in every role. Recognition that wisdom is not owned by status. For listeners who have lived many decades. Who have watched the world change its pace again and again. Perhaps you understand this truth already. Life teaches slowly. But it teaches completely. Sometimes the one who protects us is not the one we expected. Sometimes the voice that guides us comes from someone we overlooked. Sometimes safety arrives through attention rather than power. And sometimes, the greatest wealth we ever receive is the moment we truly see another human being. This is why stories are told here at the Black Voices. Because lived experience carries truth that numbers cannot measure. Because listening is an act of respect. Because understanding is the beginning of connection. If this story brought warmth to your heart, if it reminded you of the power of quiet courage, if it helped you remember someone who once protected you simply by paying attention, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your voice keeps these stories alive. And here at the Black Voices, every voice matters.